Welcome to Sun City News. I'm your host, Norma Taylor. Well, we have lots to report on, so let's start off with these stories. Securitas Chief Joe Schetting gives us tips on staying safe from scammers. Martha Spiso was at Hardyville's First Friday meeting. And later in the program, it's never too early to talk about Wreaths Across America. Those stories and more coming up. Sun City News starts now.
This is Sun City News, with our news team bringing you stories from Sun City and the Low Country, taking the lead with entertainment news. And on deck is our sports report. Sun City News, from people you know, about people you know. This week's SCTV News starts now.
We are pleased to have Securitas Chief Joe Schetting back with us to talk about how our residents should not only be aware of, but also how to avoid scams. All right, let's go to what we hear all the time, every day. It's on the news, scams. What's scams? There's always a new scam coming about, but what should we be really made aware of that's happening pretty much now? I know there are some that are happening all the time, but what do you think we should be made aware of?
Well, scams, I did a story earlier this year in Sensations. I worked with Communications. We put it together. But scams are a big, big problem right now throughout the United States. And, Sun City is not immune from it. I work with, the local law enforcement, as well as the FBI has an office in Hilton Head. And we've had some Sun City people get taken for tens of thousands of dollars, some of them over a couple $100,000. So it's important to realize, and I always try to tell people at the meetings that I go to, when you get something that has any type of urgency to it, that's when the red flag should go up. Hold on a second, let me slow things down. Things that we're seeing are typically computer scams, where there's a problem with your computer. Click on this link, and automatically it brings up all kinds of false phone numbers. It could be something from HP, Dell, Norton, Microsoft. All of these are typical scams that people see. Either shut the computer off and restart it, or just cancel out the email. The same thing with texts. What the scammers are trying to do is they're trying to get a communication going between, you and the scammer. That's their goal, because they have a playbook, they follow it, and it works. And if it didn't work, they wouldn't continue to do this. A representative of Beaufort County spoke recently at one of the meetings, and he said, "We haven't had a bank robbery in Beaufort County since 2016. You know why? Because the scams, they're making more money doing that. So a scam that just came out last week that I became aware of is one from Beaufort Memorial Hospital. And what they're doing is spoofing that phone number so it comes up on your caller ID, and they're asking for personal information. So Beaufort Memorial actually put out a little release, and it went out through the security directors. But what they're doing is they're trying to get your Medicare ID number. They're trying to get your date of birth and stuff. The only thing that they'll be calling you on would be something like confirming appointments, completing pre-appointment check-ins, and assisting with financial assistance. And that would be there would be no demand for money or anything like that. They just don't do that. Same thing with police departments. We've gotten reports where residents have claimed that Beaufort County has called them demanding money, if you don't pay the money, you're going to get locked up on a warrant. Beaufort County does not do that. Okay? It's just as simple as that. And if these things happen, don't be afraid to contact either Beaufort County, Hardyville, Jasper County, and report it to Securitas as well. And sometimes people feel a little funny about calling a law enforcement agency, so they can always call Securitas, and if we think it's something that we need to report, we'll report it to law enforcement.
And these scammers are really, really intelligent. There's always a new scam coming out.
They're very good at what they do, and the other issue is that things that we're seeing is where it used to be just trying to get the money wired overseas or something like that, where they're actually coming into Beaufort County and meeting with people to show that I'm with your bank, and people need to understand if you send out, for argument's sake, 3.5 billion emails a day, you're going to have the likelihood of getting, even if you were to get 10,000 responses, which is a fraction, that's a potential lot of money that you can get, and that's why these people do it.
All great information, Chief. Thank you so much for coming on the show and enlightening us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Joy Nelson, Director of Marketing and Communications for Memory Matters, was the guest speaker at Hardyville's First Friday meeting. Reporter Martha Spiso was in attendance and shares this report.
Joy, it is so exciting to have you here at Sun City to tell our residents and our audience about what all you have at Memory Matters. I know your topic today is how to maintain memory as you age. Explain a little bit about what we can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So maintaining your memory, I think that's something that we all want to do. And there are some things that, what you eat, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, fish, limit the red meat, exercise, socialize. That is one of the big keys. As we age, we kind of get into routines and we're not out and about talking to folks as much. It's so important as we age to socialize and learn something new. Try a puzzle. I always say this, everyone's homework for the night, go home, brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand, because that will stimulate your brain because you're doing something out of the ordinary. And restfulness. You'll so often hear IT say, if your computer's not working, turn it off and then turn it back on again. We have to do that with our brain. So at the end of the day, we just need to rest it, relax, unplug, and just sit quietly for 5 to 10 minutes to let your brain rest.
Wow, those sound like very manageable exercises and just day-to-day living and routine. So, yeah, and here in Sun City, we have the opportunity to be engaged in so many of those activities and socialization. So I guess we're ahead of the game, which is very nice. Well, now, I saw on your websites, which is beautiful, by the way. I hope you've had a chance to go on to mymemorymatters.org and look at what all they have available. But I saw something that interests me called Brain Boosters. Tell us about Brain Booster.
Brain Boosters is an amazing 3-week course that you can take with your best friend, take with your partner, take with a friend, and it gives you tricks of trade on maintaining your memory. So those 5 brain health interventions that I described earlier, Brain Boosters does a real good deep dive. And it gives you tricks, kind of how making a list every day is actually healthy for the brain. Get used to making those lists. But it's a great class. It's a small, but you do group projects, and it's a good way to meet other people and a good way to stimulate your brain.
Still more to come. Georgia Lash attended the recent Meet the Author event. Chris Chase continues her chat with Bluffton historian Glenn Umberger. And we talk with Blake White from the Lean Ensemble. We'll return after this brief break.
The September edition of Sports Done Right continues our practice of profiling residents with interesting sports-related stories to tell, in addition to extended coverage of the fall softball seasons and indoor sports enjoyed year-round by residents. I think you'll truly enjoy our interviews and action shots, and look forward to seeing y'all on the September 2024 edition of Sports Done Right.
Riverbend Lodge was filled to capacity to hear Beaufort author Rebecca Bruff share the story of a Lowcountry legend at the recent Meet the Author event.
Rebecca, I understand that we owe this book to your carriage ride in Beaufort. So you have to tell us about this. This is a beautiful story.
It's a kind of a serendipity magic story.
Yeah, so just over 10 years ago, my late husband and I visited South Carolina. My first time here, he'd been before. We happened to take a carriage ride, and at downtown Beaufort, and it stopped in front of the Tabernacle Baptist Church where that beautiful bust of Robert Smalls sits. And it was the first time I'd ever heard the man's name, ever heard anything about his story. And in that hour of riding around Beaufort, I was hooked. I was captivated. And so went back. We were living in Dallas at the time, went back, and it simmered for about 3 years, and then decided to try to tell the story. Came to Beaufort. And so he changed my life.
Beautiful story that it is. Now, when we avid readers get together and we talk about a book we like, the next question always is, so what's it about? So give us that answer for Trouble the Water.
So Trouble the Water is the story, historical fiction, but very carefully researched history side of historical fiction on the life and legacy of Robert Smalls. He was born right here in Beaufort County, in Beaufort, in what we now call the Point. 1839, he was enslaved. He was a young man just coming of age when he was enslaved on a ship in Charleston Harbor, and took the chance of a lifetime to escape, not only for himself, but for 15 other people. And it literally was do or die. So it tells that story. It tells the story of what his early life was like, the experience on the Planter, the ship that he commandeered for that escape, and then part of the legacy, and then all that came afterwards. He was only 26 years old when the war was over. He came back to Beaufort. He bought the house that he was born behind and occupied it for the rest of his life. And a lot of people know that story. The story that's still undertold is that he became a local leader and then a state legislator and a congressman, and is responsible for a lot of things that affect our own lives, including public education.
I thought that was
we
amazing.
owe him an enormous debt of gratitude.
I think it's a beautiful story. You've brought us so much information and just the love that we can have. And I will never drive on the Robert Smalls Parkway again without having a big old smile on my face.
That makes me happy. That's lovely to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, to hear more from Rebecca Bruff, tune into the October episode of Meet the Author, an SCTV production. Have you passed the old Bluffton post office? Well, if you have, there's a story that historian Glenn Umberger would love to tell you about.
Oh, Norm, I got a good one for you in the summer series. Now, Glenn, the post office, tell me about it.
Yes, so prior to 1965, Bluffton did not have a purpose-built post office building. All post offices in Bluffton from 1839 until the present were actually in other spaces, commercial stores, things of that nature. So in 1965, Bluffton opened its first purpose-built post office building, and that's the building you see behind me. It was actually designed from a design catalog that the post office department had published for people in your rural areas to build their own post office buildings. It was actually built and owned by the postmaster, Lucille Hayward, on her property, and she charged the U.S. government rent every month to be the post office, which they paid for her. The building was no longer the post office after the 1980s, and it went through some other uses. Today, it's been rehabbed by the current owners into a spectacular family home.
But now, looking at it, I mean, all the other homes have that look of age. This doesn't look old.
It doesn't look old, but it doesn't also look like anything else you see in town. It's a red brick, mid-century modern building, not a wood low country vernacular type building. So it does stand out for a little bit. And the family was very careful about what they did to make sure that it retained all its historic integrity.
Well, that's excellent. You said people are living in there now?
People are living in there now. A couple are living in there with their 3 rescue dogs.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, that's a lovely story for the post office.
Yes, thank you.
We had the opportunity to chat with Blake White, Artistic Director of the Lean Ensemble, about their latest production. Well, Blake, welcome back to Sun City News.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, you've got another show on your hands, What the Constitution Means to Me. Now, what's the link from Lean Ensemble to the original Broadway production?
That's a great question. I saw this show in New York on Broadway with my wife, Peggy, because the president of our board, her name is Mila Lerner, actually produced, she was one of the producers on the original Broadway run. And it's sort of fascinating because this wasn't a named show. No one had heard of it at the time. The playwright, who was also the star, is a woman named Heidi Schreck. She's not a celebrity. And she was a name in, theater circles, but certainly not like a Hugh Jackman or somebody like that.
Well, when you saw the show in New York, Blake, what made you think that you wanted to, or what made you say, I want to do it down here in Hilton Head?
To do it originally in 2022, but the rights weren't available. And, it's interesting because the play is called What the Constitution Means to Me, but it is not a political play. It is a play about a woman and her love of the actual document, the Constitution. She put herself through college by going and doing lectures for Legionnaires clubs and, and debates and things like that, and winning them and getting prize money and going and putting herself through college by doing that. And so it's about her reverence for the document, but the document is also centuries old, and the debate becomes about whether or not it needs to be updated, changed. Is it great how it is? And what's wonderful about this play, which I'd like to think that what we do at Lean Ensemble Theater, is she does not tell you what you should think about the Constitution or whether or not it is still relevant today. She lets you decide. She provides some facts, she provides some insight, she provides all sorts of things. But actually at the end, there is a debate between two different characters about whether or not the Constitution should stay or whether it should be rewritten. And then the audience actually gets to decide.
Well, we're in the midst of a presidential election, so some people might think this is, this has anything to do with the presidential election. What do you say to those people who may think this show is a political lecture? It is not.
It is absolutely not a political lecture, but at the same time, it was chosen to be around the election as well, because it's about our government, it's about our founding, it's about where our country was, where our country is, and where our country is going. But you are absolutely right. It is not a lecture. It does not endorse anything or anybody. It is only a vehicle for an audience member and also us that get to work on the play to sort of open our mind up to the history of the United States of America, where we are today and where we might be going in the future. But if you are reticent about coming to the theater because you think we're going to wag our finger at you and say this is what you need to do and this is what you need to think, then that is not what we're about. That's not what we want to do. We just want to engage people's brains and see what we can get people to think about.
Great. All right, Blake, give us all the details about the show.
We preview on October 31st, Halloween, just in time. And then we open on November 1st. On November 2nd, the playwright, Heidi Schreck, will actually be here for a discussion that's going to happen at the Main Street Theater on Saturday the 2nd. And then we run through the 10th. You can get your tickets at leanensemble.org or by calling 843-715-6676. I almost forgot it, which is scary because I have to learn lines. And tickets are available now, so please come out and see us.
Okay. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a perfect show for the perfect time. That's why it's perfect for the Lean Ensemble, correct?
Thank you. Well, you let us know. You come check it out and let us know if we did it well.
Okay. Well, good luck to you.
Thanks.
And thank you, Blake, for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, as always.
Still much more ahead on Sun City News. Randy Selman's here with an entertainment report. Chris Chase reports on the kickoff for Wreaths Across America. And Georgia Lash is filling in for Doug Wright with sports news. So stay with us.
On our September Extra episode, we introduce you to our family of SCTV shows. It's an SCTV station family reunion.
Mama told us not to brag, but there's some good stuff we capture on camera that reflects the breadth of our Sun City lifestyle.
Did you know we have shows devoted to our neighborhoods, our sports events, and our visiting authors?
This month on Extra, tune in to get acquainted with In Our Neighborhoods, Sports Done Right, and Meet the Author.
Come meet our SCTV family on cable or on our SCTV YouTube station.
Reporter Randy Selman had a chance to sit down with Nat Toll to talk about the upcoming musical She Loves Me. Let's watch.
Hi, Nat. It's nice to see you again. So, She Loves Me is opening up in Magnolia Hall on Saturday, September 21st at 7 p.m. Give us a little synopsis of She Loves Me.
Well, the musical She Loves Me is an adaptation of a Hungarian show called The Parfumerie. And if you remember the movie You've Got Mail with Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, it's the same storyline.
Also, The Shop Around the Corner.
The Shop Around the Corner, MGM show, that's right. So it's a story of two people who work together in a parfumerie and their secret correspondence through a Lonely Hearts Club. And in the end, they find out that they are the two who are corresponding with each other. So it ends up as a sweet, happy ending. It's a lovely musical. Yeah.
Sounds like fun. What was it about the show that got you interested in directing it?
Well, I did the show. I was a member of the cast in 2012 up in Michigan in our little community theater. And I really enjoyed the show. I said, this is such a lovely piece. So when I moved to Sun City, I said, we've got to bring this to our audience down here. Plus, it fits the cast people that we can have in our theater. So it really fits very well. So the play selection committee approved it, and the board approved it, and here we are.
I understand that there's quite a large cast in this production. What were some of the challenges you faced while directing such a large cast?
Well, it is a big production, and we have a cast of 23, but it's like any enterprise. You have to put together a support crew, and we have an amazing crew, and you have to find a cast, and I have a fantastic cast. They're so talented. I mean, as you can see, Sun City's production levels have really amped up based upon the great attendance we've had for Fiddler and for Murder. And so the audience are finding that our technicals and our production teams and the set builders and the cast are just so professional that it's exciting. So it's fun to operate it. We just have to let the cast do their thing. Yeah.
And let the director do his thing.
Yeah. I sit back and enjoy it.
That's right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk with us. And we'll see you when the curtain goes up on She Loves Me.
Make sure you get your tickets.
Yeah, well, you can purchase tickets at the Magnolia Hall box office every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 1 hour prior to every show, or by calling 645-2700. See you at the theater.
The kickoff for the Wreaths Across America is going full speed ahead, with last year collecting over $97,000 and placing a wreath on every grave in Beaufort Cemetery, totaling over 26,000 graves. Andy Horner and Chris Chase, the co-chairs of this event, announced the campaign will go from October 1st to November 10th.
Now, David, you do this every year for 17 years you've done it.
Years.
What are you doing this year?
Well, we're already at the kickoff for Sun City. I've already talked to a bunch of people already. I've got other sponsors already reached out and that help us every year to try to cover Beaufort National Cemetery. We're going for our 4th year to cover every grave out there.
Wow.
One year, my next goal my biggest goal was to cover it. The next goal is what we call where we can bank wreaths, so we won't have to work quite so hard next year. Or, as has happened in my 17 years, some of the sponsors are now out there with their loved ones, and their family wasn't involved, so their family doesn't know about Wreaths Across America. We're still interning people out there. There's plans to expand, build another mausoleum, build another above ground for the cremations and everything. And we were supposed to be out of space, but now they've bought more space and they're back. When you drive in where the truck's coming off the side, if you look to the right, to the I section and the G and H section, there's all that space back out there where it used to be nothing but construction. And that's where the maintenance crew work. The maintenance building is being shrunk down a little bit to put more room for our veterans that's laid to rest out there.
Yeah, because there's over 26,000?
Over 26,000.
Wow. So we'll have even more than that to cover?
Yes.
We better get busy.
Yes, we have. I'm waiting on you to help me. You and Miss Andy really have to help me get started.
We're working.
Y'all have worked y'all's patooties off all these years to help us. Y'all started off with just a little $1,600 check, which is a big check. But I'm not trying to make light of it.
Right.
But last year you did almost $10,000 worth, which equates to
Almost 100,000.
Well, it equates to about 9,000 wreaths. 9,763, I think, to be exact.
My math's off, so I'm going to let them have that.
The year before that, y'all only did like 93. So, you know.
There's just no pleasing you, is there, David?
No, y'all please me every year by doing this kickoff, by doing the check presentation, by doing, putting the word out and doing everything to help promote Wreaths Across America.
Well, sitting in for Doug Wright this week, we have Georgia Lash, who is reporting on sports.
Pickleball players, do you know there's a way to expand your pickleball experience here in Sun City? There's a group of Pickle Club members who are also playing in the Low Country Pickleball League. The administrator of the league's activities is Sun City resident Brian Fenlon. Our team caught up with Brian to find out more about the league.
Well, Brian, we're here on a windy morning here at the pickleball courts on the north side to talk about the Low Country Pickleball League. Tell me what that is.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to sit and talk with you, Doug. I appreciate the opportunity to promote the league. The Low Country Pickleball League is an adult recreational pickleball league that's founded or centered in the Low Country. It encompasses Hilton Head Island out to Beaufort and all the beautiful communities in between.
And how many communities are involved, and what are the formalities, I'll call it formalities of the league?
Well, there are currently roughly 30 communities participating, and the formalities are that each community who is interested registers through a registration form via a captain's interest form. Once we have a captain from a community, that represents a team. So each season, I'll send out a captain's interest form to the entire membership within the league, and people step forward and volunteer to become a captain for their team representing their community.
Okay, that sounds fairly simple, and I'll refer to you as the organizer and the administrator rather than the commissioner, but you are, in fact, the guy that started this, and how many years ago was that?
Well, actually, I took it over. The league was founded approximately 5 years ago. I participated in it for 3 of the 4 seasons, and they had a COVID pause. I felt that the league was too nice of a organization and too fun to just see it go to the wayside. So I approached the previous commissioner and had a conversation and decided that, I'll take up the gauntlet and we'll move forward and reopen the league.
As noted, the first slate of league matches here will occur on Saturday, September 14th at the Southside Pickleball Courts. So go over and have a look-see. You may want to become a league player. That's sports for this week. I'm Georgia Lash, sitting in for Doug Wright for Sun City Sports.
Now, to view expanded coverage of sports news, check out Doug's monthly show, Sports Done Right. Well, that's our news for this week. Thank you for watching. Catch us on cable on our YouTube station, where we invite you to hit like and subscribe. To see expanded coverage of some of our SCTV stories, tune into our monthly show, Extra. For questions and comments, email us at suncitytvhh@gmail.com. Check in with us next week for all the news that's in your neighborhood. For Sun City News, I'm Norma Taylor.